Hey everybody, I thought I would jump on here real quick and do the video for this week. Um, oh, which the video for this week is going to be kind of based off of what was said at our church this week. Because at our church, I don't know if you guys remember me saying something or seeing your postings where you're starting a new series called Come to the Table. And what this series is that when every Sunday we're going to take like a Bible study or a book of the Bible and we're going to study it. But each Sunday, a different person in our church will take that chapter and they will kind of start off by sharing what they got from that chapter, what they thought the main points we needed to know were, and kind of go over it. And then when they get done, we'll kind of have a time where we have a roundtable discussion from everybody in the church about what they got from the reading, because everybody reads the chapter before church that Sunday and comes with their thoughts. And so we kind of had we've done this before and it went really well. So we're doing it again. And so we are doing Come to the Table and we are doing Ephesians. So this Sunday was our first Sunday. We'll be doing it next Sunday, and then we'll be doing it the November 2nd, 9th, and 16th. We'll be doing this Ephesians study and stuff like that. So when I share, when I share on these videos, kind of the lessons from 504 and these insights, is I'm sharing kind of what the ideas of the church were, and then I have the thoughts that I got when I was reading it. So I just want you to know that that is what I'm sharing. So I do want to give credit to the people that said it and stuff like that. And so let's get started. So we look at Ephesians chapter 1, and this week at our church, one of our members, her name is Michelle. She was the one that shared and read chapter 1, did it, and shared with the church what she got from it. And she did a really amazing job bringing up some great things that she saw from Ephesians chapter 1. One of the first things she saw is that in Ephesians chapter 1, starting like in verse 5, it talks about the spiritual blessings of Christ. And it says that we are connected to, and that we have the opportunity and we have all the spiritual blessings from Christ. As believers, we have that ability and all that blessing on us, and have access to all the blessings of Christ. But what she kind of talked about is that we need to, as believers and Christians and people who are following Christ, we need to stay connected to that power and to stay connected to that blessings. And what she meant was she kind of told a story about how this person bought this, $10,000 refrigerator. I think she read it from a book she was reading, but it talked about the story about how this person bought this fridge that was like $10,000, and it had all the bells and whistles, and it could do everything and all the stuff. And it was one of the fanciest fridges. And so they got it, they bought it, and they were able to get it delivered. They got home, they got it delivered, and they got it set up. And but on the way after buying the refrigerator, she was so excited about this new refrigerator that she went and bought some ice cream and bought some groceries and bought all the stuff that she would be putting in the new fridge. And was super excited about it. And so when she got there and the fridge got delivered, she was putting her stuff away, and then she went to bed that night. And the next morning, she came out into the fridge, and she could kind of smell some weird smells, and she could also kind of see that she opened the doors to the fridge, and there was kind of some kind of weird smells. Plus, the ice cream was all melting and all over the fridge, and stuff, and there was no light on, and it just didn't seem like anything was working on the fridge. And so she was really frustrated by this, and so she ended up calling the company that makes the refrigerator and saying, "Hey, the fridge isn't working." And the guy asked some questions like, did you push this button? Is the motor running? Are the lights on? And she said, no, the lights aren't on. He goes, is the motor running? And the lady said, no, the motor's not running. And then the third question he asked her is it plugged in? You need to move the fridge and see, is it plugged in? And she moved the fridge and found out that it wasn't plugged in. And the guy said, well, if you want the refrigerator to work, it needs to be plugged in. And the lady's response to that was, well, for $10,000, I thought the fridge would work even if it wasn't plugged in. And I think that it's kind of a funny story to hear that, to think someone could be like that. But I think so many times that's how we treat our relationship and our walk with God, that we feel like we could just not be spending time in His Word and not praying to Him, but yet we're still going to be connected, that we're still going to experience those blessings and those promises He's put in our life when we're not connecting with Him. And I think, and that was kind of the point that she brought up, is that we really, if we want to experience that love and that joy and that hope and peace that comes with being a follower of Christ, we need to be connected to Him. We need to be connected to the source. And if we aren't, we shouldn't expect the things to work like normal, right? And sometimes when we're going through things and going through tough times and trials, we can still have that hope, joy, and peace if we are connected to the source of hope, joy, and peace. But if we're not connected, we're not making that time to be intentional with our time with God, when those tough times comes, we shouldn't be surprised when it seems like our refrigerator's broken or like everything's broken, because we're not connected to the source that will help us. And so I thought that that was a really good point that she brought up, is that yes, we are, that it says there in Ephesians, in the early part of Ephesians, that we are that we have the opportunities of all the blessings of Christ, and that those are in us as followers. But if we want to experience the true joy, love, and blessings of being a follower of Christ, we need to stay connected to the source. We need to be connected to Christ. And I really like that she brought that up in Ephesians. And we had some other people that talked about it too, and they kind of shared the same thing. Is they're like, I know on days when I have my time with God that it seems like my days go better, or when troubles come, they don't seem to bother me as much. And we just continue to keep talking about that connection, that we have to stay connected to God if we want to feel that. And what does it mean to be connected to God? You keep hearing me say that. It's taking time to read His Word. It's taking time to talk to Him in prayer. It's time, just spent thinking about the thoughts of His thoughts. It's like He's like, make my thoughts your thoughts, and so that's what it means to stay connected to God. And one of the things that came up to me when I was reading through First Ephesians, when I was going through it, is that I think so many times in our lives, for some people, there are times when it feels like, it seems like things are just going not right, or things are not really going the way we had thought or planned, and we kind of start to think maybe that God is either distant, or just isn't there, or that He doesn't care, or we just kind of think like that. And I think there's other people that they're living their life with this idea that God is a God that's up there just waiting for them to mess up so He can punish them, or He's just waiting for us to prove ourselves good enough. And I think that is what so many of us are walking around with, this idea that we have to prove something to God. Because I know in my life, that is a big thing for me, is I feel like I'm always having to prove myself every day, prove that I'm good enough, prove that I deserve to be doing what I'm doing. And so I think that so many times that's our thought. But look at and listen to what Ephesians chapter 1 verses 9 and 10 says. Listen to this. It says, making known to us the mystery of His will, according to His purpose, which He set forth in Christ as a plan for the fulfillment of time, to unite all things in Him, things in heaven and things on earth. So God's great will that He had predestined before we even existed was that all things would be united under Him, in both on earth and in heaven. That is His will. That is His purpose. God's main thought, God's really only thought, is about you, and about how much He loves you and how much He wants to bless you. And right there, for people who maybe are sitting back thinking, oh, God is distant, or God has forgotten me, or does God really care? Listen to those verses that it says He's making known to us the mystery of His will, that His plan is for the fulfillment of time, is to unite all things in Him, both on heaven and earth. His goal is that every person shall hear, that every knee shall bow, and that not a single person is excluded from that. It doesn't matter what your past is, it doesn't matter what you've done, that He still wants a relationship with you, and that His main goal and purpose in Him is to unite us all together, all of us in heaven and on earth. And so that doesn't seem like a God that is distant. That doesn't seem like a God that's just waiting for us to mess up so He can punish us. That sounds like a loving God that wants nothing but good for us. And so if we want to experience that and we want to feel that, we need to stay connected to that source. We need to be plugged in. I could use 1,000 examples, like if I were to unplug my phone and not have it plugged in for a long time, it's not going to work unless I could plug it in and give it power. It doesn't matter what example you want to use, but if we're not plugged in, we aren't going to be used the way we were meant to be used, right? Like that refrigerator story I told earlier. You can have all those things in the refrigerator, and you can have a refrigerator with all the bells and whistles, and you can have it full of good things, but if it's not plugged in, those good things are going to be ruined. And if we are not plugged into the source and plugged into Christ, those things that he has in us, those gifts and talents that we have, could be getting spoiled. It could be not being used in the right way. Why? Because we're not connected to the source. And so for me, I think that was the main overarching thing that we got. There's more stuff. There's even Ephesians 1 even ends with a thanksgiving and a prayer and stuff, and it's a really good chapter. I'd recommend that you go read it. But the main arching thing that we got from this is this: that you are loved so much by God, and you are loved, and he had a plan for you before he created you. He had a plan for you, and he has a plan and purpose for all of us. And if we really want to understand what all our giftings, and if we really want to know how we are supposed to be used, and if we want to be effectively used the way we are got to, we have got to stay connected to the source. And that is the main overarching theme that we got from Ephesians 1, is that we need to stay connected to God. And that doesn't mean we have to have a 6-hour quiet time, 30 minutes, 5 minutes, 10, whatever you can do. Just we need to have that time that we set apart to give to Christ so that he can speak to us, we can speak to him, and we can stay connected. It's all about connection. That is what Christ came for. Christ came and sent his son because we were being disconnected from him because of our sin. And Jesus came to be the ultimate connection, right? You want to, the ultimate, thing, the ultimate plug-in. That's what Jesus is. He is what keeps us connected to Christ. And so, as we see in here, that is his purpose and that is his will. And like I said in Ephesians 9 and 10, his will is to unite all things in heaven and earth. And that his main goal is that everyone should know how loved they are, that they have a purpose in him, and that every knee shall bow, and every tongue shall confess. So that's what we got from Ephesians 1. Like I said, we are doing this Come to the Table series, where next week somebody else in our church will be sharing about Ephesians 2. We'll be looking at Ephesians 2 as we go through this book. Then we'll have a couple other people sharing the next couple of weeks. And then the last week of Come to the Table, it'll be me sharing on chapters 5 and 6. I'll be sharing my thoughts and kind of leading it. And as we're doing this, and this is just a great way to get people talking about the Bible and just get talking and sharing about it. And I want to encourage you, if you're watching this, if the church you go to has a life group or has some kind of something you can get into where it's getting you to share your thoughts about the Bible. It's not just you always going and listening to what the pastor says and his thoughts about the Bible, but giving you a chance to speak your thoughts and your shares, because God has created us all to share the gospel. So I encourage you to find a way to do that. So that was the lessons that we learned from Ephesians 1. If you've watched this to the end, I thank you for watching this. I might try to post this up if I can figure out a way to post this up on YouTube. But I just know that most people usually watch this video on Facebook. So if you watch this, thank you. And know that I'm praying for you. We love you guys. And we're so thankful for everybody who makes it possible for us to do what we do. Have a great week. And I hope you know how loved you truly are. And I'm going to end this video like I ended all my classes when I was a teacher. I'm going to say I want to remind you of 3 things today. 1, God thinks you're awesome. 2, I think you're awesome. And 3, why not go out today and be what you are? Be awesome.